Okay, we're going to get started. I anticipate that we will have many more people jumping on because we do have quite a number of people signed up for today. So, but we also only have an hour and we stop on time. So we are going to get going. I will keep putting the link in the chat as people are logging on, but if it is helpful, if you see a request in the chat for the link, if someone can put it in, that's always appreciated, just because people start coming in fast and furious and it's hard for me to keep track of everything. So if you can, if you come across that situation, I appreciate if you can put the link in the chat. I will do my best to stay on top of it. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Christine Del Negro. I am going to share my screen. And okay. So today's session is creating a welcoming and affirming learning environment. It's module 2, course B, and the course was developed. It was developed by the state of New York, and then it was kind of tweaked and streamlined by Rigor, one of our instructional consultants at Solved. So I am primarily a literacy consultant, and I have been working for Solve since 2020. I've been working as a consultant in New York City since 2013 and was a classroom teacher for 11 years before that. And most of my work is in New York City, although I have also worked in Yonkers, in Massachusetts, California, and the US Virgin Islands. That was a nice gig. Okay, so we're going to get moving. And so I have asked this already. If you're just logging on or you haven't had a chance, would love it if you could introduce yourselves in the chat and just let us know your name, your content, grade, school district, and why you're taking this course and what you hope to gain from it. This is being recorded, so if you came in late or you need to leave early, the recording can be provided. You can send a request to Solved. Everyone will receive all of the slides from the presentation and the links. So that will be sent, and your CTLE certificate. So that will be sent automatically. I believe it's usually done the following day, and you can respond to that email if you would like a copy of the recording as well. So these are our norms for today: to take an inquiry stance, ground our statements in evidence, assume positive intentions. We do our best to stick to the protocol and hear all voices. The groups get big, and as you know, especially when you're on Zoom, I can't see everybody. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself and kind of call it out. We will end on time, and we just ask for you to be present and focus on where you are right now. If you can put your camera on, that's really helpful. It just helps me to know that I'm speaking to people. It's up to you. I know people don't love the camera, but if you're up for it, I would appreciate it. Okay, so our goals for today are defining welcoming and affirming learning environments, and discussing how to foster belonging across learning environments. And this is just an aside. We know that this is really important as educators, and that, you know, the environments that we create in our classroom have reverberations throughout the year, and our ability to help our students achieve the outcomes that we want. It's I just kind of an interesting coincidence that I'm presenting this course in May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and also that the Surgeon General recently released something saying that loneliness is essentially a national epidemic. So I just think that that's really important to keep in mind, because I think when we can create a warm and welcoming environment in our schools, that really goes a long way, both for the staff and for the students, in creating that sense of emotional security and safety. And it's so important for mental health. So we have our introduction and warm up. We're going to define welcoming and affirming environments, fostering belonging across learning environments, and then we'll do our wrap up. Okay, so I'm gonna, let's see, going to stop sharing my screen. I think I'm not, okay. And I'm gonna put a link in the chat for the note catcher, which is for you to make a copy of. And you can use it to take notes for yourself, and then also, whoops. Okay. Let me just stop sharing. Okay. So the link that I just put in the chat is the note catcher. So please open that and make a copy of it. And the first activity that is listed on the note catcher is to just take a couple of minutes to think about 2 different classroom experiences. So thinking about when you think about what is a welcoming and affirming environment in a classroom, and think about like what does that look like to you? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What would you include in that, and what would you exclude? So take 2 minutes to just jot down some thoughts.
I know we're making a copy of the note catcher, but should we be typing it into the chat to share? Or
Sure. Once you do, I was gonna just give people a couple of minutes to write and then have them put in the chat. But if you want to put it right in the chat, that's totally fine. Okay, so if you would like to share in the chat something that you listed as an important element of a welcoming and affirming classroom environment. So for those of you who are just logging on, I am going to put a link to the note catcher in the chat. I think this is the note catcher in the chat. Yes. And we are just jotting some ideas on what a welcoming classroom looks like. And I will also put the link for the slides in the chat. Okay, anyone have thoughts on elements that make up a welcoming classroom? Where kids are going to come in and feel like they belong. Thank you, Ms. Corbell and Ms. Latito. An atmosphere of courtesy and respect. Classroom environment where all students have a voice, are welcomed and allowed to showcase their students. Getting to know your students and their families. Student voice is very important. Love all of these. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think things like everyone in all of the students know each other's names. I've been in classrooms where they don't know each other's names. Or, you know, I think like having photographs of students on the walls from activities in class is always nice. Definitely that the teacher knows who the students are, knows, you know, their stories. And obviously it is easier to do some of these things when you are an elementary teacher than it is if you're middle school or high school, but I think it is still possible. You have to be a little more creative for sure. An environment that is inclusive and educated in all cultures and identities. Yes, all voices should feel as though they belong or are valued in the school community. Each one teaches so we can learn from each other's differences and create strong bonds. Yeah, everyone brings something to the table, and students need to feel that students and teachers need to all feel like they are appreciated for their knowledge and their experiences. Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so this course is in support of the CRSE framework, which is an initiative by the New York State Education Department to establish culturally responsive, sustaining guidelines for students, teachers, schools, and district leadership, as well as families, community advocates, higher education, and the State Education Department. And there are 4 components: welcoming and affirming environment, high expectations and rigorous learning, inclusive curriculum and assessment, and ongoing professional learning. The first tenet of a welcoming and affirming environment is culturally responsive and sustainable education. Is it creating a welcoming and affirming environment, a place that feels safe and where all stakeholders feel as if they belong? It's a space where people can find themselves represented and reflected, where they understand that all people are treated with respect and dignity. The environment ensures all cultural identities, i.e. race, ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, disability, language, religion, socioeconomic background are affirmed, valued, and used as vehicles for teaching and learning. Sense of belonging reflects the feeling and attitudes that one fits in, belongs to, or is a member of the community in question. And I'm actually going to, well, I'm going to say something that viewing oneself as being accepted within a community rather than on its fringe validates one's personal belief that they're present and contributions within our values. So I never used to think about that there was a difference between fitting in and belonging until I read the work of Brene Brown. I don't know if anyone's familiar with her work. If you are not, I highly recommend. I always tell people, if you're interested in her work, start with her 2 TED Talks, which are 2 of the most highly watched TED Talks, or at least they used to be. I think that's still the case. She's a shame and vulnerability researcher, and she does a lot of work within education. But she talks about the difference between fitting in and belonging. When you're fitting in, it's about hiding yourself or parts of yourself so that you can fit in and be part of the crowd, as opposed to belonging, which is being accepted for who you truly are. So obviously we want our students to feel like they belong in their classrooms and in their schools. So this was a survey from Education Week of 528 educators. 80% believe a sense of belonging in the classroom is important for student success, highlighting how integral teachers are to building positive learning environments for culture. 41% believe it's challenging or very challenging to make their students feel like they belong in the classroom. And 49% of educators say they need help to find strategies to establish and increase belonging. So we are going to hopefully give you some resources for that. Okay, so I want to show you a video.
Anything else? You had so much time. Reading, speaking. You okay?
Can everyone hear that? Okay, I hope that you can hear that. Yes, okay, great, thank you.
So what's going on? Strong relationships are central to the learning process. What the science of learning and development tells us is that we need to create learning environments which allow for strong long-term relationships for children to become attached to school and to the adults and other children in it. When children have experiences of closeness and consistency and trust, oxytocin is released. Oxytocin has many, many positive effects on the development of the brain. So when we think about a relationship, we're not just talking about being nice to a child. We're talking about a child having an experience of attunement and trust strong enough to release the hormone oxytocin.
Good morning, Ariana. How you doing today?
The purpose of the morning greeting is to connect with them and to just make sure that I'm seeing them as humans. Like I'm making that relationship with them, making that bond.
I prioritize relationship building because getting to know them is the best part of the job.
When I come in the morning, we usually talk about things that are happening in our community.
We're trying to build caring and respect.
Teacher is trying to understand who I am and my values as a person.
When I have a free 45 minutes or an hour, I think to myself, I could sit down and catch up on grading, or I could go and make connections, whether it's a smile or a joke or a reminder. It validates their presence in the building.
Rock it out in the art room. It starts from so much honesty and transparency with kids. It's really easy to strive to be this like idealized, always ready to go elementary school teacher. And that's not real and that's not human. When people start talking about other things while I'm still giving direction, it feels frustrating for me and I have to take a breath. My students connect most with me when they see that I also struggle and I also have challenges. It takes a lot of vulnerability on my part.
When that student knows that you care about them, when they know that you're a human, their academic performance in your class is going to be better.
If I'm comfortable around them, then I'm more confident around them and it's easier to ask questions and things like that.
So when you're looking at this graph, what is it that you think happened?
Some teachers I don't always get along with the best. So then sometimes I'm like, I can't do it. So I'm just not gonna do it. But when I like the teacher, I want to do their work. I'll be like, I can learn this.
You all have done outstanding work.
Emotion and learning are completely connected. If you're in a positive emotional space, if you feel good about yourself, your teacher, that actually opens up the opportunity for more learning.
Good to see.
Is my okay. Sorry, I don't know why. It wasn't letting me go back to sharing. What? There we go. Okay. So you are in your note catcher, going to reflect on your classroom experiences as a student and identify one in which your teacher made you feel welcomed and affirmed, and another one in which you didn't feel that way. And think about what made those two experiences so different. And we're going to see, we may go into breakout rooms after this. So take a couple of minutes. This is in your note catcher and all of the instructions are there. So, oh, good. So the questions are all there for you. So take a minute to jot down some thoughts, and then I'm going to put you into breakout rooms for a couple of minutes to talk about it. And for those of you who are just logging on, I will put the note catcher link into the chat for you, and you can make a copy of it. We are on activity 2. I will also put a link for the slides in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna put you into breakout rooms. I just created, we have about 50 people. I created 7 breakout rooms, so you'll have 7 to 8 people in a room. It is 3:02. I will bring you back at about 3:08. So just have some conversations about your experiences, what made them different, what did one teacher do well that maybe the other teacher didn't do so well. Think about the commonalities in the stories, and then do these experiences, which or both of these, or which of the experiences that you all are talking about, do you see reflected in your current school? Okay, so you have about 5 minutes. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time, but just, have some good conversation. Okay. Okay, I heard some snippets of conversation and both positive and negative. So thank you for sharing your experiences. I just was thinking as I was listening that in my experience, people seem to go into teaching either because they've had really great experiences and they want to replicate that for their students, or they had a really negative experience that was damaging and they want to make sure that that doesn't happen to their students. So I don't know why that, just listening to both sides of the coin sort of made me remember that. Okay, we are going to move on because I'm looking at our time and it is 3:10. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to talk about some strategies for creating a welcoming and affirming environment. So building positive relationships with your students helps them feel as though they can come to you with questions on assignments or when they're facing a challenge. Many of them appreciate knowing they have someone they can trust and to whom they can confide. You can build rapport with your students by taking time to interact with them individually, listening to their comments or concerns, and showing enthusiasm when they come to you with to share their experiences and their stories. And as we kind of touched on before, this is definitely more challenging when you are at the middle school or high school level and you only have your students for 45 minutes to an hour a day. I do think that some of the strategies that we used during COVID and virtual learning can come in handy. Different ways that teachers found to have check-ins with students. Think about those, because I think when we went back into in-person, some things came with us and some things got lost. And I think that some of the things that got lost may actually be valuable, and or you can think about how you would do them in person. It might look different than what you did virtually, but it's the same general goal. Okay. So another thing to think about is your actual physical environment, providing a structure, how do you decrease stress levels and help them feel more comfortable in class? The organization of your classroom in many different ways. Also, just what does your physical space look like? Can you bring in extra lighting? What's up on the walls? I've been in classrooms that are beautiful and welcoming, and I've been in other classrooms that just look like a box. So that is definitely something that you have control over as a teacher. I do know that sometimes if you are in a building, and this I think is true for elementary and maybe middle school, and there are after school programs, I know that teachers deal with sometimes having things damaged in the classroom. So it can be challenging, but thinking about within the parameters of what you have to work with, how can you create a physical environment that is inviting? And then there's high academic expectations, explaining your expectations, letting them know how that you're going to do your best to help them learn and that you're available if they need assistance. Your expectation is that they're going to work their hardest. I also think one of the things with high academic expectations is being really clear on what you are expecting from students. What does it look like? Be really specific. I know with my own children, my younger daughter is a junior in high school, and she comes home, and it's happened with my older daughter who's in college, and they've been given an assignment and they really don't understand what they're being asked to do because the instructor has not made it clear. So making sure that the expectations are clear, that if they've been modeled, students have had an opportunity to ask questions, so that they know what they have to do. And as well as with your grading policy, what goes into it, how you're making your decisions, and maybe, they have an opportunity to make it better. Okay, feedback, providing positive reinforcement for students. So, external factors that motivate students to behave positively, for example, providing students with public praise by complimenting a student's behavior or academic performance in front of other classmates, taking time to contact parents and letting them know about positive behaviors their child has been exhibiting. I think there should, if any feedback that's public, should always be positive. Negative feedback in front of others does not build trust. It doesn't build anyone feeling good about where they are. So if there's negative feedback to be given, it should always be done in privacy between you and the student. But then also being open to feedback from your students about what, how they feel in the classroom, how they feel about what has been, what they're learning, how they're learning it, the way that the class is structured, and setting up a structure so that they can respectfully give you feedback and give suggestions in a way that's respectful, but is also constructive and allows them to feel that they have a voice, which somebody mentioned is really important to creating a welcoming classroom. Okay, I am going to show you another quick video. This one I really like. It is on, I'm not going to show you the whole video. It is, the instructor is Caitlin Tucker. She is known really for her, she's she was an English teacher, high school English teacher, but she's very tech savvy. And so a lot of what she does now is on how to use technology to support your instruction. And this is part of a video. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but just how she uses Google Forms to get feedback from her students, both on, she uses it as an exit ticket to make sure she's clear on what students are understanding or not understanding, but it's also an opportunity for students to give her feedback on what they liked about the lesson, and any other thoughts that they have. Oops. There we go.
Draw your attention to just the simple exit ticket. I am a big fan of coming up with kind of like a standard exit ticket where you're asking kids to evaluate the lesson. And it's part evaluating their grasp of the concepts in the lesson, but it also is designed to give you some feedback as the educator about the lesson itself, because I want to figure out what kids really enjoy and they respond to so that I can replicate those strategies and technology tools in future lessons. So this exit ticket asks students to begin by just telling me, how confident do you feel about the material that you covered in this lesson? Not confident, extremely confident. Where do you fall on that spectrum? I asked them to identify a concept that they learned in this lesson and then explain to me, how did you learn it? Describe your process. And this is very metacognitive. They have to kind of slow down and think about, okay, how did I learn that? What was really useful in this lesson for me in terms of understanding this particular concept? I also asked them to revisit what they knew coming into the lesson. And then where were the kind of misconceptions or misunderstandings that they had when they entered the lesson that have been corrected as a result of moving through the lesson? I will often ask them which stage of the lesson was their favorite, as that's super interesting for me, because if everybody says they loved the explore stage, well, then I know that the strategies I used at that stage, I want to replicate and I want to use again because the kids really enjoyed it. I ask them what questions they have, even though we've finished the lesson, their questions can help me to figure out, what do I need to review? Where do we need to go from here? Or are there a group of kiddos I need to scoop up and maybe try to pull into a synchronous online session for just a little reteaching and review? And then I always ask, what would you like to spend more time kind of learning about, practicing, or reviewing? You advocate as a learner for what you need. And then I also leave it open, like, do you have any additional feedback about the lesson and how it can be improved? Because I constantly want students to know I am iterating on my process. I'm looking to improve their learning experiences, and their feedback is really the best way to do that.
So encouraging collaboration is another part of creating a welcoming environment. But I'm going to say, and I know that you guys have all experienced this too, encouraging collaboration is more than just putting 4 kids in a group and telling them that they have to complete an assignment together. I think you can tell when you go into a classroom where when students are collaborating well together, you can tell that the teacher has taken time to create a community where there is a level of respect for one another. And even if kids aren't best friends, they can work together to get something done. So again, collaboration is really an important part of creating that welcoming environment, but it is sort of I think in some ways a fruit of the deeper work, like planting the roots of creating that community and creating that welcoming environment before you can get to the collaborative piece. Or you can use collaboration to help build that community, but it has to be really thoughtful and intentional. So these are some things to consider when you're thinking about your classroom. Knowing that students know what to expect when they enter your classroom, consistent classroom routines, guidelines that are, well publicized and that kids are very familiar with. And then giving student voice in creating rules and having clear expectations with consequences if the expectations aren't met. Okay, I'm going to move through these quickly because I'm looking at our time. So these are more, and again, you will have these slides sent to you, and they will be emailed to you tomorrow, but I will also put a link in the chat at the end so that you can have everything today if you are interested. Okay, we have a few minutes. So what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to stop sharing so I can put these links in the chat. There are a couple of articles, and there are 2 articles and 2 short videos. And I would like you to just choose 1 or 2 and take some time to explore them. So the first 2 are articles, Finding the Funk and 3 tips to make any lesson more culturally responsive. Okay, I'm not really sure what's happening here, but for some reason, it's not letting me put anything in the chat. There we go. Okay, so you've got 2 articles. And then there is this video. Zoom is being very difficult today. So that is culturally responsive teaching in DC's boys high school. And then this one is building a belonging classroom, which is another Edutopia video. So the videos are about 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, and then the articles are slightly longer reads, probably like 6 or 7 minutes. So we probably have about 6 or 7 minutes. So just pick 1 or 2 and take a look, and then we will come back together. Actually, oh no, I'm sorry. We don't have time. It's 3:25. Somehow need an extra 5 minutes in my head. Okay, so I need to give you the evaluation form. First, I'm going to give you the links. These are the links to the slides and all of the videos, the note catcher, pretty much any of the links that I opened for you today are at the bottom of the chat. And then I'm going to give you the link for the reflection form. In just a second. Okay, so that link is the reflection form. Does anyone have any questions?
The last link, what is that? Because it looks like it's the link to the Zoom meeting.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The link that you're sharing is not the reflection form, it's the link to join the meeting.
Okay, hold on, sorry. My mistake. Let's try that again. Okay, that should be it. Let me know.
Yes.
Good. Does anyone have any questions about either the content or the stuff that you're going to be getting tomorrow?
What are we getting tomorrow?
Tomorrow you will get your CTLE certificate. You will get the links to the slides and everything else. So I also put those links in the chat, and I will do that again.
I signed up for a bunch of classes with you guys, and then I promptly forgot which ones. So
Oh, okay.
is there somewhere where I could see what I did sign up for, or should I just sign up for everything again and wait for the email like 20 minutes before it's time to come up?
No, there's got to, give me just a second. Let me put this into the chat, the links into the chat, and then I will let you know.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So are we ignoring this last link?
The
one that says join?
The one that says join, you ignore. Then the one after that
Okay.
says reflection. You should see something that says reflection form.
In the reflection form, there's a place where I can ask my question, and it's attached to my email. So I'm going to put it there
Okay.
for follow-up.
So, okay, sorry, I'm not sure if there was, so are you asking about to sign up about the classes to find out which ones you're signed up for?
Yes, but
Okay.
because
Let
there's a
me,
link that asks a question in the response form, I thought I would just put it there.
yes.
Is there anything else you want to share with us? Sign up for more courses. I'm putting my question, is there any way to know what I've already signed up for?
I would, yeah, let me, you know what? I'm going to put my email address in the chat. Send me your email and I will get it to the right person.
Okay.
And just when you send me the email, just remind me that we just had this conversation, just in case I don't look at it right away, and let me know. Yeah, and I'll forward it to the right person. Okay, and if you don't have any questions, you can log off.